I first came to what was Wellington in 1977 with Bill Ilvasacker. Bill brought me over to show me where he was going to build a polo club. My first thoughts were, this will never happen. There was a lot of swampland. And he said, we're going to play polo in 1978. And the spring of '78, I left to go north, pursue polo. And there was very little done. I came back midsummer. There was a lot done. By the fall, it was amazing, the polo fields that were put in, etc. The start of the stadium. The first weekend of polo, if you could imagine ants carrying the crumbs back to the mother or the queen bee or whatever you call it. Anyway, there must have been well over 100 people working on that stadium the Saturday before. A chain of people carrying chairs, painters painting, welders welding, and we had our first polo game in 1978. And when Bill brought me over originally, I'd already started the taqueria, and I was working out of a mobile trailer at the old Gulfstream Polo Club on Lake Worth Road. And he said, I want you to come in here and do the pro shop, and if you want, you can partner up with us and get in the feed and shavings business. And I said, feed and shavings is out of the question. Polo tack, yes. And he wanted me to go in the stadium. And I said, no, I need to be close to the horses. So we started out, we took over an apartment and one stall in the barns. We eventually took over 2 apartments, 3 stalls, and we operated there for many years until I moved into the maintenance building. And that was, I don't know, probably, well, we moved into the barns in 1979, and then we moved into the maintenance building later on, and we also opened a store on South Shore Boulevard. And I opened, when I opened the first store in South Shore Boulevard, I wanted to be on South Shore Boulevard because I thought that was closer to the barns. But we were at the dead end, and there was no action, so eventually we moved around to the front of the shopping center. Then we moved to Wellington Trace and the old Ace Hardware, and now we're in the location we're at on Pearson and South Shore. As I say, I started out selling polo equipment only, and actually the way that Gary Strivling and company got me into the barns was in their master plan. There was a golf pro shop, tennis pro shop, and we were the polo pro shop. So that's how we were able to commercially, sell out of the barns. And like I say, when I opened the second location in the Town Square Shopping Center, the idea was to branch out into the equestrian world, and knowing that Bill and had spoken with the folks about moving the horse show from the fairgrounds here to Wellington. And we just grew from there. It just was at the right time, at the right place. I started with a very meager investment, and now we've got a large-scale operation. When Bill first brought me over in 1977, we crossed 441. Nobody ever came west of 441. I mean, it was the hinterlands. The only thing was, besides Loxahatchee, was the Royal Palm Shopping Center and the restaurant there that Jess Santa Marina had. And it was like no man's land. I mean, Big Blue Trace was a dirt road. Forest Hill was 2 narrow lanes. There was a little shopping center with Abehoff paint and maybe a deli was there at the time. Actually, the location where Agliolio's is now, the first bay only, not the both bays. The first bay was the Barnett Bank. So it was, it was pretty sparse out here. But with Bill's vision and, of course, the corporate money with Gould, what they did was incredible. I mean, to build the whole facility and put Wellington on the map, first as polo, and then now as the winter equestrian capital of the world. I was inducted into the Polo Hall of Fame. There's a category called the Eigelhart Award, which is for meritorious service towards the polo. And when I was inducted, when I was first told that I was inducted, I turned it down because I thought there was other people more worthy. But anyway, I did it, and I guess I was happy that it wasn't posthumously, that I got in, and I've now enjoyed, I don't know, 10 or 15 years of being in the Hall of Fame. In the early days, before the equestrian community came along with the hunters, jumpers, etc., we played polo. We actually played polo on this plot of land where this building is. We had a little field. We played 3 on a side in the summertime when the fields were closed. And then eventually, as I mentioned earlier, Bill Ilvasacker had the vision. He spoke with Gene Misch, and they brought the horse show over. And the first competition was in the parking lot of the stadium. And what would happen is the major jumping class would be held at halftime of the polo game. So people would stand up on the top of the stadium, turn around, face the parking lot, and watch the jumping competition. And then eventually moved across the street, and eventually to the location where they are now. So it's really grown, and now we have a lot of people. There's a big facility in Ocala, great facility in Ocala, and there's people who fear that that's going to take away. But we're still close to Palm Beach and close to a lot of activity. Now, of course, the latest talk is about some more homes and developing 600 acres, and I think a lot of people are resisting that because of the way we coexist with both equestrian activities, all equestrian activities, and a lot of people complain about the little section of South Shore between Pearson and Lake Worth Road as being 2 lanes. That was purposely done. That was purposely done. I was on the Equestrian Advisory Board at that time, and we did that to lessen the traffic and not make Wellington a cut-through to go out to the western communities. And back when that was first done, a friend of mine and I, we started at Lake Worth Road, and I came Lake Worth Road through Wellington out to Binks Forest. He took Forest Hill. He took 441 to Forest Hill, and down to Southern, and we met almost simultaneously. So it's a fallacy that it's faster to cut through Wellington, and that's why I say that was done to maintain the bond between the equestrians and the horses and cars. Way back before we had professional umpires, polo players would take turns umpiring. And I thought early on, with being in this business of selling polo equipment to polo players, that I could make less enemies by announcing the polo games and maybe saying a wrong name than umpiring and having a questionable call that somebody might thought of cost them a game. So I started announcing in the 70s, and when we came here to Palm Beach Polo, I was still announcing the games in Lake Worth at Gulfstream, And David Andrews, who was on the sales force, was the Sunday announcer, and I did all the weekday games. Now the roles have reversed, and I only do the Sunday games. And actually this year, which just ended yesterday, I did my 43rd U.S. Open. And I've announced the U.S. Open in New York, in Kentucky, California, Texas, down in Boca as well as here. You know, I've mentioned Bill Lovasacker's name many times through this little chat. He was the guy who really put Wellington on the map. Wellington originally was going to be housing and just a normal community, but he brought the polo and the equestrian that gives us the uniqueness that, you know, I really feel that somewhere down the line we've had streets renamed, and I would love to see one renamed for Bill Lovasacker.